are paying for the appraisal. You're paying for title work. You're paying for some. Now this is the big doozy that nobody knows about. They make the buyer pay for the homeowner's insurance at least 6 months, and lately it's been up to a year in advance.
I'm here with Damon Johnson of DJ Realty Solutions, and we are going to talk about real estate and estate planning. So, what separates you as a realtor versus the other realtors in the field?
I think what separates me, my level of experience, expertise, willing to go above and beyond the call of duty. For sure, my social media powers. And I say powers because social media is such a big part of real estate now. It helps me with my advertising, with staying in touch with clients, past, present, and future clients. I used to work at a mortgage company, so it gives me a leg up on knowing how the actual mortgage process goes from start to finish. I'm able to answer more questions than a average realtor. I just try to be the best me that I can be when I'm doing real estate, because I also bought a house, my first house years ago, and I had a terrible realtor who I didn't know at the time was a terrible realtor until the deal was a disaster. And I always said that I want to be the realtor that I wish I would have had. So even when I don't feel like calling or answering a client's question, I think about, don't be the realtor that you had. Be somebody who's helpful, kind, and who also isn't afraid to tell people the real answer that they need to hear. Not sometimes you have to just give it to them. You can't baby them because they are spending a lot of money, and I don't want to waste anybody's time or money. So I try to give them what they need.
Okay, yeah, that's always appreciated from the client standpoint for sure. So speaking of that, when somebody comes to you and they have a pre-approval of, let's say, 400,000, how do you gauge what they can actually spend versus what they're actually pre-approved for?
Great question, because a lot of people see the pre-approval, and there's a couple of amounts on the pre-approval. So let's say, like you said, you're pre-approved for $400,000. I always tell my client that 400 is really $350,000, and here's why: because if we start looking at homes that are 400,000, what are you using them for the down payment? How are you going to close? What if something's wrong with the house that you as a buyer in this seller's market need to fix? What if you have to pay the seller occupancy to stay there until they move? I try to have some wiggle room, I call it, in the purchase, in the home buying process, because if you're pre-approved for 400, your lender is letting you know this is your max. This is if in the great scenario of nothing going wrong, no side costs, no extra costs, yes, you can do it. I tell my clients with the LO on the phone or in an email, everybody's on the same page. Hey, we're going to start at 300 or 350 just because things happen. And a lot of times clients, home buyers don't know that they're paying outside of the 350, $400,000, you're paying for your inspection. You are paying for the appraisal. You're paying for title work. You're paying for some. Now this is the big doozy that nobody knows about. They make the buyer pay for the homeowner's insurance at least 6 months, and lately it's been up to a year in advance. Not like, oh, I'm going to pay that closing. Because people think, oh, I'll just get right a check at closing. No. You call the insurance agent up, they say, oh, we need $3,000. Then you're like, oh boy, where's that coming from? So that $400,000 really isn't $400,000. It's really $350,000. That way you have a great home buying experience. If something happens, which it always does, you're covered. And when you get the home, I tell my client, you'll be happy and you can still be able to go to the store after you close. You won't start off house poor.
Yeah, yeah. See, that's great advice because a lot of people don't know about the process of buying a home. They just see this is a home that costs this much money. They don't know where to start. They don't know what is needed, how difficult it is to find a house, put the offer in, and all the little things that come up when they're buying a house. What are some issues that you've seen? Give me some horror stories that you've gone through, and explain, like, somebody has gone through this, but this is what we did to kind of fix it or help guide them through it, type of thing.
Oh goodness, horror stories. I have a few. Let's hope these names. I just not mention names.
Yeah.
I've had. Oh, this one comes to mind where a couple got pre-approved. I knew the lender. Everything was going great, but they always pushed their budget, not way over. They pushed it just enough, and so we started looking at homes, and something said, Damon, call the lender and see what's going on. Why we can't? They were scared to write an offer. It was like we was buying house, they were scared to write an offer, and he was like, Damon, shout out, you know who you are, because I'm gonna do his voice, Damon. They only have a down payment. They're getting the down payment from his mom, so it wasn't in the bank. It wasn't like in a cashier's check laying around. They were getting the down payment from his mom, who hadn't said, "Hey, here's the 5 grand or 10 grand or whatever." And I was like, "What?" And I said, "Well, how are they closing?" He was like, "I don't know." And so I go, "Oh, they like looking." In my business, I didn't know that people just like riding around looking at houses. I had no clue that happened. And they're like, "We only got 3 grand in savings to do the whole thing." And I couldn't save that one. I was like, well, I did finish eating first. I was like, because they were paying. I said, well, let me get this meal first. And let me get back to my car so I won't be stranded in Livonia. And I got back to the car and I called him and I was like, they said that they got 3 grand. He said, no. They're supposed to have 10. They're getting the 7 from the mom. But I was like, I can't function. I can't run my business
Right.
waiting on other people. And I didn't know a lot of times people are waiting, and you can attest to this, Mr. Finance Wiz, that people think they can just go into their job and say, "Oh, I want my 401k money today."
Oh yeah.
Sometimes it's a month process. Sometimes it's a week. It's 2 weeks. It's nothing. Is the same day. And I didn't know this. You don't get everything. If you have 10 grand in there, you might get 7.
Yeah.
You might get, it's an early withdrawal fee. It counts as income the next year. I was like, so people who think that they're going to use their 401k, oh, here I got one. They think that they're going to use their wife's 401k. They've been told the spouse, hey girl, hey, you helping us buy this house. I was like, what? Oh, another horror story. How much time do you have? I got loads of them. This is only an hour-long show, y'all, so here we go. I was out with a client, and they gonna know who they are. They're okay. I looked through COVID. We were being safe. This is when we were still doing plastic gloves. It was that in the middle of COVID. We looked at, oh goodness, at least 40 homes. At least we just kept getting outbid. Now they were writing offers, had the money in the bank, had proof of funds, everything going good. Do you know they went with another realtor? This was my mistake. I didn't make them sign another contract. Our contract had lapsed.
Okay.
But I thought since we were friends, I'll just do what I'll do. I kept putting it off and putting it off. They used her bosses. She was a dental hygienist or something. They used her boss's realtor and bought his house.
Oh wow.
So it really was kind of shady from the get-go, and I saw him recently, but he walked the other way. He didn't come over, but it was my mistake. But I was furious at the time. And it wasn't so much of I was waiting on the check. It was a time thing. And it let me know that people just don't really care sometimes. So it was my mistake for not handling business, but it was, it was, I mean, we went through all the holidays. We went through a Christmas party, New Year's Eve, Easter. We went through the whole year about like looking at homes. And we just kept getting our bids. So I was like, I mean, we were really overbidding. We were just I was really giving my all. And then 2 came up and he called me and I was sitting here and they were like, oh, we're using such and such. And it's like, what do you do? And it was like, I can't sue them because we're not in contract. I was like, But I learned
Yeah.
my lesson there.
Yeah.
If you want more stories like this, I have a book coming out, Horror Stories from Realtor Land.
That's funny.
It's crazy, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a wild business.
It is, yeah. Yeah, so that's, on the real estate side, you need to be prepared with a good realtor to take you through the process and not just, be short-sighted and try to do it on your own or not know the rules before you get into it. You want to have enough money saved for a down payment, have somebody that's going to guide you through the process and make sure that you have everything taken care of. So, no, that's great. Do you have any? I'm going to ask you this one. I don't know if you have. I don't have it. I don't know if you have any. Do you have any cases that you've worked on with real estate that had to go through probate?
I had two, and they don't teach you this in real estate school, so which I think they should. We have classes and stuff you can take, but you just never know. You get to court, everybody gets nervous, and I was like, "What am I doing here?" I was on the buyer side, and it was in a trust and probate and something. And this is weird. I don't know if you knew this. You can sell a house and not own it. You can say you own it until title checks. When I go to list a house, sell it, pardon me, I file with title for them to do the title search and make sure that a contractor doesn't have a lien on it, or you don't owe taxes, or the city doesn't own it, or your grandma's really name isn't on it. People who sell their houses don't do that. They just sell them. And it's up to the buyer to get title pulled. Well, the house is for sale. We won the offer. Deal is going through. The agent was like, "Oh, by the way, it's in a trust." And I was like, "Oh, what type of trust?" "Well, there's a million real estate trusts that can be in. Is it even in Oakland County?" I hadn't dealt with the county besides we turn in, sometimes for your clients, you'll turn in their homestead tax papers. They're like, "Oh, I'll turn it in." You turn to get a stamp, whatever. It's like a 2-minute process. But I hadn't been to the court side of it since COVID. And I heard they were backed up and behind. You got to make an appointment. And if you're not an attorney, you can't come in. I was like, I'm not even dealing with that. So I asked her, "Hey girl, hey, what type of trust is it in?" She didn't know. I was like, "Oh, I have to call my broker." Like, she's saying it's in the trust. I had ordered title, but I don't think they caught it because we were early in. I just ordered title like the day or so before. So the report hadn't came back yet. And when she told me that she didn't know, I was like, "Well, what do you mean?" I didn't say it, but I was thinking, like, "What do you mean you don't know?" Because from the real estate end, trust for us means dead. Like, if the family has control of it, mom or dad have passed.
Okay.
They left it to that's for realtor
That's how
understanding. That's how we usually equate it to, that this family or brother and sister or aunts and uncles, whomever, have control of this property. So when she told me she didn't know what type of trust, I think I scared her. But I was like, I'm only asking because can you close? So thank goodness for my title company. They missing the trust, but we can close it. Great.
Yes.
I didn't even ask what type of trust it was at that point. I'm going to be honest. I was like, "Oh, here we go." But I did let my client know it's in the trust, title's taking care of it. But a lot of times with probate, with the realtors, we don't know, and I don't want to know how to fix it. And I'm going to tell you why. When you start playing attorney, whatever you say, they believe you.
Yep.
Whatever number comes out of your mouth, whatever date comes out of your mouth for probate, they believe you. I'm like, "No, we have to go to court to say, hey, the house is 400, because they have to get paid off of that.
Yep.
Their probate isn't free."
Yep.
So when a house is in probate for us, it also means that this family may owe this conservator 100 grand.
Right.
So when you say probate, most of the realtors, we go like this. Nobody wants.
Yeah.
We don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
If she would have let me know that the house is in the trust, we would not have bought it. I got lucky.
Okay. So typically, with a trust, when people put it in the trust, it's to avoid probate court. So if it's in a trust, it was put in the trust to avoid probate court in the first place. Now, the original people that set the trust up may have passed away, and then you have the trustees, which are the managers of the trust that can sell it under that rule. But you don't, if it's in a trust for future purposes, you don't have to be scared of that. That's actually good. It just requires a couple more steps in the process to get permission to show and prove that they can sell it. But if it's not in a trust and somebody passes away, then you have the problem of being in probate court. Then nobody wants to touch it. So from my perspective, from the legal perspective, putting it in a trust is good. Once somebody passes away and it's not in a trust, it could be bad. Probate is definitely not.
Because as I was understanding from the realtor end, when we hear probate, we're like, oh, we're not gonna get a check.
Yes.
Or it's not gonna, not that we won't get it won't close.
Yes.
Or you can close mortgage wise, but you can't get keys.
Yes.
Because they are still, the family is still, not even so much arguing, but going through the process with the probate judge. And it's like, usually the deal is 30 days in total.
Yep.
Nobody wants to be with a client for 120 days trying to wait on.
You wish it was 120 days.
Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah. See why I didn't want to do that?
Yes.
I knew from hearing horror stories like probate and trust, I was like, no. I thought it was a big no.
Yep. Yeah. Once it's in probate, it becomes a mess. You're probably not going to be able to sell the house for at least a year.
Oh.
They have to figure out what's going on, who the actual owner is, all that stuff. And then once that gets figured out, then they can sell the house. You can get into a deal before they figure out who's going to own the house and legally sell it. But then it's a mess. You don't know when that's going to end up happening.
Now, I got a question for you. This is on the show, no show.
Yeah.
Is it, at what point or what dollar amount for the home? Because sometimes people don't have the money. They just go to court by themselves. They go to probate court.
Yep.
And they just let the system play out. At what point do I tell my clients, hey, you need to call Joe to speed it up, or at least to know? Because what happens, they bring the realtor all this paperwork, and I'm like, no, because you know how the paperwork looks like. Probate paperwork looks like this.
Yep.
Whereas real estate docs normal look like this.
Yeah.
Your purchase agreement, yada yada. But probate, and I can't show up to court for you every time because when they set the date is the date.
Yep. So
at what price point for home do you think, is there ever one that's too, like, 100 grand or less, I'm like, all right, let them just play out? Or is it like a price where you like, they need to call?
No, I always, calling and figuring out what you need to do can be free with a consultation.
Okay.
Right? And then you can get the explanation of like, okay, these are the things that need to be done. And you can make the informed decision of whether or not you want to hire an attorney to do that for you or not.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That makes total sense.
Because people, every time somebody thinks that they can do it themselves, they do something wrong. Okay, so I'm gonna give you one of my horror stories. So a horror story for me, from the legal side, is a husband and wife buy a property together.
Okay.
And then for whatever reason, and partially for estate purposes, they think, you know what? I have a great, smart idea. I am going to put my daughter or my son on the title with us, or only in that person's name. Well, maybe your family's getting together and getting along right now, but maybe in a couple of years they might not be. And if that person is on your deed for your house, they legally own your house. So one of the issues that I came across recently was a married couple had the wife's name and the daughter's name on the property, on the deed.
Okay.
The husband's name was not on it. And let's say they bought the house for $300,000 and they lived in it for 10 years, and then now they go to sell the property. Well, they made about $400,000 on the property when they sold it. So they sold it for $700,000. Because the names on the deed were the wife and the daughter, it shows up that the wife made $200,000 and the daughter made $200,000. There is a law that as a married couple, if you live in a house for 2 out of 5 years and you sell that house, you can make up to $1 million and not pay taxes on it.
Okay.
As a married couple living in the house 2 out of 5 years, you can you can buy a house for $100,000 and then sell it for $1.1 million and pay zero taxes on it.
Nice.
Yes, that's awesome, right? Okay. But because they put the daughter's name on
Now we got to pay.
now you got to pay taxes. So the wife might not have to pay taxes on her $200,000, but the daughter is going to have to pay taxes on her $200,000. She's probably going to have to pay $40,000 or so in taxes.
For nothing.
For nothing. Well, legally it's her debt.
Yeah.
So she has to pay it. Her parents could be nice and pay the $40,000 for her. They could be mean and not pay the $40,000 for her. Legally, it's her debt that she has to pay that $40,000.
So what did they do?
We haven't gotten that far yet.
Oh, it's still going on. Ah,
I'm just saying they could have avoided that whole problem if they would have done it the right way.
How old is the daughter? Is she legal age? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's older. She's like maybe 40, let's say. But I'm just saying, like, when you don't ask the questions and you don't know what you're trying, you
don't know what your options
you
even
don't know
are.
what
Yeah.
you don't know what your options are and what the pros and cons are. You just know I can do this. Okay? This is what I relate it to, okay? Have you ever played chess on a computer?
Yes.
Okay. You know, like when you play chess on the computer, if you can select a piece to move it, and then if you pick a spot that is legally not able to move, it will not let you move to that spot, right?
Right.
So you can play chess on the computer, but do you know how to play chess?
Yeah, because
Right?
playing with a human is different.
Yeah. No, but I'm saying, like, the computer will not let you move illegally, right? So they didn't make an illegal move with doing this thing on the thing, but was it the right move for them? Right? Do you see it's a difference between strategy, between doing something strategically versus legal versus illegal. They did a legal move. They thought they were saving themselves money.
Yeah.
But they actually cost themselves $40,000.
Oh, for nothing. For nothing. Oh.
All they had to do was a special kind of deed, and it would have cost them a few $100s, and they could have saved all of that. You know, rules change. Even with law. Okay, so realtors, you're licensed in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
The rules are different in other states. And
Yes.
same thing with law. It's like there's a reason why I am an estate planning attorney. There's criminal law. I don't know much about criminal. I know enough to say when somebody tells me their situation to say, criminal law, go talk to this guy. You talk to me about something else. Oh, immigration law, go talk to this person. I don't know enough. I know enough to say you need to talk to somebody else, and I'll tell you who to talk to because they know about that situation. And rules change. You can't remember all.
Because
all this
I'm
stuff.
sure you get questions from everybody. Hey, I'm going to jail. Can you?
Yes.
You like in an emergency? I can come meet you at the courthouse.
Yeah.
But if it's like, listen, if you're my wife and my kids, I can get you some bail. But you hit somebody over the head and you just were, driving impaired. Like, let me. Now, when people call you for stuff, all you like this? No, I don't practice that type of law.
I ask people to call me.
Okay.
I'm like, if you need something, call me because I'll get you to the right person.
Okay.
Or I can help you directly. So call me. That's why I tell it. Just call me. I have people. I can get you to the right person. That's it.
Got it.
Yeah.
I got it. So I'm
That's
gonna
it.
call. I'm not like, hey,
Call me.
I fell through the stairs of this house, and
I got somebody for that.
No, I could ask
do.
you a question. This is unscripted, guys.
Yeah.
Now, this was during COVID. We had our clients sign this waiver about, catching it and whatever. I was like, how was that my fault if you catch it? Because I can't control somebody's home.
Right.
I can't make you put the mask on or whatever. And I just thought, somebody's attorney, it came from our big board.
Yeah.
But I was like, did somebody look this over? I know enough about a little bit about law to be like, this really is like a blanket thing. I was like, can you enforce that? And let's say one of my clients did get sick. How do I know they didn't leave the show and go to the grocery store or to the movie or to whatever? Were you running into anything during COVID? Or did your practice change during COVID? Or were you like...
My practice changed during COVID in a manner of people were passing away and getting sick,
Okay.
and that's when people call me.
Okay.
People call me when it hits, like I can tell, okay, I target a different audience than most estate planning attorneys. Typically, an estate planning attorney will talk to an older couple. They have assets, they have a house. They might need some care relatively soon. They want to make sure that they're not paying taxes on stuff that they're giving to their kids. It's easier to sell them because they're closer to that realization of something might happen, right? I go after young newlyweds, right? Like, you guys just got married, just get your paperwork done now. And then you don't have to worry about it unless something happens. You buy a house, let's add to it. You have kids, let's add to it. Let's, you have a new business, let's add to it. So I'm kind of going after people that need it, but don't want it.
Okay.
So they don't understand. When you're younger, you think that you know everything.
Invincible. Superman.
Yes, invincible.
Spider-Man.
Yes. But during COVID, hey, my cousin just passed away. I think I need to do this. Hey, my grandmother just passed away. I need to do this. And so it opened up people's eyes to what I've been trying to tell them could happen. And that's where people started calling me more during that time.
I asked because I was like, I have a lot of clients. And this one client in particular, the first day we could start back showing brought her not elderly, but older, mom age, 60, 70. I was like, she had signed the COVID paper, but her mom was nowhere on that paper. And so I had to be the bearer of bad news.
Yeah.
I was like,
Nope.
hey, your mom should wait in the car. Because at during that point, nobody knew nothing.
Right.
We were just where people were dying.
Yes.
People were getting sick. Some people were coming home. Some people were there long term. Some people were coming home, couldn't smell, couldn't drink, couldn't eat. And I was like, I always err on the side of caution. I'd rather you get mad because your mom can't see the kitchen.
Yes.
Than she's in the car laying out.
Plus with technology nowadays, you could probably just
the virtual
FaceTime
showings.
her. Yeah. Well, no, I mean, like, you have the person your client with you.
Yeah, we
and you
FaceTime
could just
her.
Yeah.
A lot of times people they don't
Right.
tell you who they're bringing.
Yes.
And then when she showed, I called my broker. I was like, I'm that guy.
Yeah.
I'm not scary, but I'm like, hey, how's all this working? And you bring up a good point. Like, for me, I have insurance, but now that I know you, I know I need to add on to it because I have NFTs.
Yep.
And my videographer, Trip Audio Visual, shameless plug, we were laughing one day because I only have a sister. I don't have any other siblings. It's just one of us. It's like just the two of us, rather. She doesn't understand NFTs. So I'm like, who do I leave my stuff to if something happens? Knock on wood. If something happens, is that another part of the will? Or so I was hoping you could walk me through that process maybe today, because I don't know. Just because NFTs are different and the market never closes.
Right.
And it's not like a car.
Yep.
Where the car is sitting there, you know it was Damon's. Here you go.
Yes.
You're next of kin.
Yes.
Where with NFTs, if they don't have the password to get in, can't nobody get it no way.
Yep.
So it was like, I need to do something now. I have too many of them just to go back to the market.
Yep, exactly.
So.
Yep. Yeah, so that's good that you asked the process. So a lot of people think that they need a particular estate planning document. But when I get into it, I find out what they actually really need, because there's no education on estate planning. People always talk to me about a will, or they'll either come to me for a will, a trust, or maybe a deed if they heard it from somebody else, type of thing. But I always ask them the questions like, okay, are you married? Do you have kids? How old are your kids? What are your goals? Are your goals to avoid probate, to take care of the kids? Are you trying to hold the money from the kids until they reach an appropriate age so that they don't blow it all at 18 years old? I mean, think about it. If you give an 18-year-old $1 million,
It's gone by
it's
19.
it's gone in 9 months. I'll promise you. On stuff that when they turn 25 or 30, they're gonna be like, I wish I
I would
didn't
have
buy
held
that.
that money.
Yes, exactly. So there's different things that people need, and so the first thing that I do is schedule a consultation, ask these questions. Who's gonna take care of you if something happens to you but you don't pass away? Because a lot of people associate estate planning for when they pass away.
Right.
But they never think about, they always say, I don't have anything. I need a simple will or whatever. But you have yourself, your life. Who's going to pay your bills if something happens to you but you're still alive? You don't want to be in a coma for 3 months and then recover and say, oh, I'm out on the streets.
Right.
Because I didn't pay rent or my mortgage or whatever, and now I can't do any of that stuff.
So when we do mine, is there a one-time fee? Is it a monthly fee? Is it quarterly?
Yeah.
Or how can I pay for it?
Yeah, so I do a flat fee. So I figure out what you need.
Okay.
And then I tell you, these are the options that I would recommend. I always recommend a complete plan. If you want to do it the right way, do it the right way.
Okay.
But sometimes people,
Excuse me.
for whatever reason, only want to focus on one thing, or maybe don't have enough money or something like that, which I do offer through a third party payment plans. So I try to get people set up. Like, I would rather have you get your documents done now and make payments than wait until you have the money, because I would feel bad if something happened to you in that time of you trying to gather the money. So I offer that through a third party.
Okay.
So that's what I offer people. But so it's a one-time fee to get everything that you currently have set up.
Okay.
Okay. And then the only times that you really need to make changes based on the plans is if a major life event happens, if you get married, if you get divorced, if you get another house or a new house, stuff like that, where if you get a business, we got to add those to the documents. But you have the core set up, so it's going to be a very minimal fee to add that extra thing onto your already established estate plan, rather than the same fee every time, right? So
Right.
it's going to be one larger fee up front and then a minimal fee to do the add-ons if you need it later on.
Gotcha. So, speaking of add-ons, people are asking, what if I get divorced in this house? Divorce seems to be a thing.
Yep.
Where it's like people have to say both husband and wife have bought your plan. Like, here we go.
Yep.
Is there a way to break it up for separate plans for them? Or do they have to sell? Because what's happening now, I don't know if you know, what's happening now with homes, it used to go to the wife in Michigan. It was more the wife would get it, the husband maybe have to pay her off or pay his portion of it, or help pay for it until the kids were 18 if they were younger kids, like kept till they were 18, and then they have to sell it. Now what's happening, I've had a couple of clients where I've been on both sides of the deal, where judges are like, nope, you got to sell it now and then split it. We were on the buyer side of that happening, and I don't think the wife was too happy. Well, she wasn't. She cried at the closing. And I feel bad, but they were selling.
Yes.
You could tell that she worked, but it wasn't like a $1 billion job. And she said, I didn't never think I'd have to give up my house. So she's in an apartment or condo now. And I felt bad for her. She was a certain age, and it was like, oh no, it was like the law, I should say changed, but it's like the tide changed,
Yes.
and they were like, split it now, not later. So I think a lot of people, married people, I don't know if you run into this, where, not saying it's cheaper to keep or it's cheaper to stay married. I'm like, what do you see on your end with that, the splitting of
assets?
Of assets?
Yeah, so that's
plans. Like, can they split your plan?
Yeah, so with the plan, it is set up, and you think of it, and I take this analogy from one of my friends because it's a great analogy. When you set up a plan, think of it like a pot. And whatever you put inside that pot, those rules govern those assets, right? So you can keep that pot and keep putting assets into it and be okay. You can create new pots and put assets into those and have different rules for them. So for example, like a married couple that has 2 kids together, they set up one pot and they put all of their stuff inside of it, right? If they get divorced, they could be on good terms and say, you know what, we still have this one bank account. If both of us pass away, it goes to our kids, we can leave that alone. Do I recommend that? No, I recommend setting up your own new plan at that time. And the husband and the wife each create their new separate plans and take their half of everything. And you want yours to go to the kids, he wants his to go to the kids, great. But at that time, when you get the divorce and everything is finalized, create new plans at that time.
Okay.
Because another reason, people
I
because
can feel it coming.
because okay, so like think about it like this, okay? Let's say you had a plan set up. The husband is the first person to make financial and medical decisions while you're alive, and the wife is the opposite for the husband, right? So they each are the person that's in charge of making financial and medical decisions for the other. You get a divorce. Those documents are still valid.
Oh.
And you probably have each other as the primary beneficiary on your accounts. So guess who's going to be the first person to come visit you when you're in the hospital?
Them, because they want that check.
They want that check.
Now, see, you just busted up a huge myth. I thought once you get divorced, that's it as far as...
You can write documents up that way.
But people don't.
Some people don't. So, just saying.
Oh, so me and Susie Q over here get divorced. If we don't do the right paper, she still may get my house.
Yep.
You know what? We could be here all day with horror stories. But I gotta tell you this horror story. I don't know if you've heard it because we're home of the big 3. Let me tell you how GM does. I've had a few family members who's passed away, how GM will do it. Did you know? This is how I asked about the divorce thing. Who gets what? Had a family member pass, worked at GM. We thought they were really divorced. They really weren't. They were just separated.
Okay.
She passed when the getting was good with GM, when they were still getting the huge pension. He got everything.
Oh, yeah.
Kids were still living. They were grown. He didn't give them none of it.
Yep.
We were devastated. Like, not 10 grand, not 3 grand, not nothing. And we were like, do you think he got that money? And I was like, he did.
Oh, yeah.
My dad passed from GM. Let me tell you what. I had to go up there immediately. I knew he had his mom, my paternal grandma, who had passed, on his paperwork. Sure enough, plain as day, her name is sitting right there. I panicked because I have 12 aunt uncles on my dad's side. I thought in my head, does my money go to them?
Yeah.
They didn't fight me for it, but I was like, because you did what you did.
Oh, yeah. People fight over silverware.
What? A goblet. So I'm running out to the GM plant. But then you have to go to I used to work for GM a couple years with him, so I kind of knew how the process worked. You have to go to the union and do his paperwork. It's not death certificate, here you go. It was like 6 steps to even get the ball rolling. But I had to find grandma's death certificate to get her off of that. But they had to alert the brothers and sisters that I'm getting her off. It technically, they could have fought me for it.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Because it technically was half theirs and half mine. And I was like, how is this going? But I didn't know you then.
Yeah.
So it was like...
I always tell people, update your beneficiaries. Let me know when there's a major life event. And I feel like I'm a little bit different than some lawyers because I'm not just taking a client. I'm making friends with my clients. And when I have friends, I take care of them. And so if I know somebody's getting married, I'm like, all right, let's go. and I push them to. I'm like the parent that is taking care of the child that doesn't know what they need, right? Like you need to do your homework. I'm telling you, you need to do this. Like do this, and I'm kind of able to see some of those things happening. And I look out for my clients where I'm like, all right, I saw that you got married. We're going to add this person on to this account for you. Just sign the paperwork. Like, I've already done it. Here you go.
The other reason I brought that up, I think that this is a warning to all you Big Three employees.
Yes.
They don't encourage you to update your files because it's such a huge company with so many employees. And I think a lot of big corporations don't tell the client, hey, this year when you got married, come change your stuff in HR.
They don't.
They consider you an adult. You do it whenever you want to do it. I would have not thought in my wildest dreams that my deceased grandma would still be on my dad's paperwork.
Oh, yeah.
So I literally was at home and something said, she is still on that paperwork, Damon. I mean, I was the first thing at the door, and it just, as now I'm here with you, it's like how many other people have not done that? It's so many people who work for the Big Three who still do, whose parents are elderly. You don't know who's on that paperwork. Please go check.
Yep. And then, so I make the process very easy for my clients, right? So initially starting out, I do my free consultation. It's about an hour at the most. Usually it's less than that. I go through, I explain to you what we're doing and why I recommend what I'm recommending. And I give you the other options if I say, you know what, you can probably get by with just this or doing the full plan. But I always recommend the full plan because you have extra benefits that people don't think about. Sometimes it might not be worth it for what their goals are. And then I send you a DocuSign contract. You make the payment. You can pay me with credit card through the DocuSign. And then you go on my website. You fill out a form. It takes you half an hour. And that's it. Then I have my assistant will come, meet with you, bring all of the documents, sign. Takes about a half an hour, and you're good to go.
So I'm gonna test this out. So when I call back when the next Joe knows show, I'll be like, y'all, this took an hour and 45 minutes. He's like, an hour and 45 minutes. Like, no. And you're right, because I think if people know how long it takes, it's one episode of Bridgerton. So if you can if you watch Bridgerton or This Is Us, I
make it simple for people because it's overwhelming. It is a lot of stuff to think about. But when I break it down in the way that I have it set up and make it very easy, all you need to know is the name, the legal name, address, and phone number for each person that you would like in each role. Who do you want to take care of your finances? Boom, 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 done. All right, go to the next section. Who do you want to take care of your health? Boom, 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 done. That's it.
Because let me tell you, I've been through it with family members and friends of family. When you don't have anything set up, they slap you in the cheapest nursing home, or the county doesn't even really have. Let me tell you what the county doesn't have anymore. They have no nursing home. They put you like in a mental institution, and nothing's wrong with you because you don't have anything set up. And people always say, well, Damon, you don't have any kids who's going to take care of you. I said, you know how many people I know who have kids who won't even go visit their parents at the nursing home? That they're using their parents' money that they left, leaving them to put them in a cheap nursing home that they don't even visit. I was like, I'm using my money to take care of me. I'm like, so when you don't have anything that I'm getting of age, nobody wants to wipe your behind. Nobody wants to push that wheelchair. I can't think of nobody. Who's behind you want to wipe? Y'all want to wipe from behind? I know that I don't. So people don't think about those things, and I only think about it because I have parents who have passed. And they passed suddenly, so we never went through the whole gamut of who are they going to live with, who's taking off. But while my mom was sick, my sister didn't work. So we had to take care of it, so it wasn't, he was like, we got to pay your bills because you're with mom all day, so here we go. But I don't think people think about, I've seen some of my friends' parents, they're like, I can't work because I gotta stay at home with them all day. That when you don't have anything in place and you're not even thinking about putting anything in place, people will slap you in the nursing home And I don't mean Shady Pines. I mean just shady, where it's like a cot and a sink and one girl working for every 20 some patients.
Right.
If if you think your kids are gonna take care of you, unless you are rich, and they're waiting on inheritance. They are not.
Yes, I
So
agree.
this is my warning to everybody: have something in place. I don't care if it's just a nurse once a week that comes to your house, or Meals on Wheels, or something. My great grandma, oh, chef's kiss, excellent insurance, and I was like, ooh, I want to be like this. I feel this is what I want when I get older.
Yep.
Her physical therapist came 3 times a week. Her nurse was really kind of living nurse. She came from 6 to 6. She was 6 at night, 6 in the morning. It was always somebody. And I was like, I don't know how much this is costing. And she was like, baby, I got great insurance. I saved. I did this. I was like, everybody in my family's like this. I want to be like Grandma Ethel when I
Yes.
get ready. She was like, it was very classy and very like, oh, here we go. But she was one of those when the insurance plan or somebody came around talking about they could do something. She's like, you were 200 a month, and here you go. She's like,
Uh-huh.
I don't want y'all seeing about it. I'm gonna see it by myself. And I think now that people are in their prime earning years, I'd rather pay it than not pay it,
Yeah.
because I'm gonna call Joe Knows like, hey, I paid for Platinum Plus. Where my nurse at? Where's that check at? Because you have to have something in place.
Yes.
Because when you don't, and you put it off, and you put it off, and you put it off, and something happens, your family does not have time to
Right.
see about you. Time, or everybody can't take off
Yes.
work to come see
Right.
about you because you're bedridden, or
Right.
you're sick, or you're just in a home or whatever. You just need to have something in place. And that's the reason that I met you, because it's so funny, I started talking about this. Like I said, when I started getting more NFTs and those passwords and this and that, and I was like, ooh, if something happens, or I need to sell one and I can't talk, then what?
Oh, yes, yeah. Yep, exactly. So Damon Johnson from DJ Realty Solutions, and Joe Dallo from Dallo Estate Planning, and I'm glad that you guys were able to watch us and go over a few real estate and estate planning tips.